Today we're going to continue with Chapter 1. We're looking at Section 1.3. This section is all about recognizing collinear and noncollinear points, betweenness of points, and starting to correctly interpret our geometric diagrams. All right, so once again, we have some more vocabulary. Collinear. Collinear means that we have three or more points that lie on the same line. So if I was to demonstrate it with a picture, once again, remember collinear is if I have a point, let's call it A, where once again I have to have a capital A. Here I have a second point. I'm going to call that point B. Well, automatically, if I have 2 points, I can very easily connect those 2 points together without any curves, and so that would make it collinear. So because any 2 points will automatically be collinear, that's why my definition says I need to have 3 or more points. So notice that here I have a third point. I'm going to call it C. So if I wanted to, I could connect them nice with one line, and notice that that one line that I drew, it goes through all 3 of those points, and that's why those points are collinear. Okay, so you don't actually have to have that line drawn through them, but if I was to connect that line through them, yes, all of those points need to fall on that same line. So then to be non-collinear means that points that don't fall on the same line. So a diagram of this would be something like, here's point D, here's point E, and so automatically those 2 points will have collinearity to them because they can have one line drawn to them. But if I have another point F over here, there's no way that I can connect all 3 of those points using this same exact line. So they would be non-collinear. So then betweenness of points means that all points must be collinear to state that a point is between 2 others. Okay, so if I have point G, H, and I, if I was to draw a line, all of those points would fall in that one line. So notice that in this case, because I have collinear points, I can say that H is between G and I. Okay, had that H been moved up a little bit, well, then I wouldn't be able to say that H is between G and I. They have to be collinear in order for us to say anything about betweenness of points. Okay, so knowing those 3 things is going to help us figure out what we can and cannot assume from diagrams. So this is very, very important, and we're going to be doing a lot of problems where we look at a diagram and we think, okay, yes, I can assume this, or no, I cannot. So let's start with the list of what we can assume. We can assume straight lines and straight angles. Okay, so if something appears to be a straight line, that's something that we can assume. Same thing with an angle. If it looks like it's a straight angle, we can assume it. We can assume collinearity of points. Once again, as long as you have 3 points that then fall within that same line, we know that we have collinear. So then it's the same aspect of then we can also assume that points are not collinear. If I look at a diagram, I can say, okay, I'm not going to be able to draw one line through all 3 of those points. Those points are non-collinear. Betweenness of points, because remember, betweenness of points connects to that concept of collinearity. If I can assume collinearity, I can assume, yes, this point is in between 2 others because they are collinear. And the relative position of points. So meaning that if I have a whole bunch of points on my diagram, I can say, okay, this point is to the left of this one, or this point is above this one. So the direction at which the points lie is something that I can assume. So now moving on to the most important list of what we cannot assume. We cannot assume right angles. So unless I'm specifically told in the diagram that this is a right angle, or if I have that little symbol with a box, if I don't have that box symbol indicating a right angle, I cannot assume that that angle is a right angle. I cannot assume congruent segments. So unless I'm specifically told this is a length of 5 inches, this is the length of 5 inches, or that they have the same markings, so they have the same tick mark in between, I cannot assume that segments are congruent. Even though they might appear to look the same length, I cannot assume it unless it's marked or indicated as such. Same thing with congruent angles. So along the lines of having right angles, I can't assume, yeah, that angle and this angle, they are both, 50 degrees. Unless I'm told that, I cannot assume that. So unless I have markings inside the angles that are the same, or am I specifically told, yes, this angle is congruent to this, I cannot assume it. And then just the relative size and of these segments and angles in general. So I can't say, yep, that segment's longer than this one unless I clearly know, okay, this is marked as 3 inches and this one's marked as 1 inch. Okay, same thing with angles. I cannot assume, yep, that's an obtuse angle and this is an acute angle. Unless I'm specifically told that, I cannot assume it.